Okay, you can hear. Thank you, Richard. It's perfect because today I want to talk to you about relationships, and all relationships are conduits for love. Perfect. So I'm going to talk about the most important relationship, which is the relationship you have to yourself and the spirit within. And then all the other relationships just flow from that. So you are divine form, everyone around you, everybody here in this room. And Ernest Holmes, our founder, said God is in, through, around, and for us. Part of the secret is to create enough space for this love to keep pouring into you. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Ernest also said, he said, the greatest good that can come to anyone is the forming within themselves of an absolute certainty of oneself and one's relationship to the universe. Now this week, a little side here, I'm a firm believer in the separation of church and state. And this week I saw a particular state trying to push the 10 Commandments. Now it's interesting because Jesus had 2 commandments. He said, love God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, and love one another. That's it. That's it. Nothing about chattel and women being less valuable than homes and a little higher than donkeys, you know. Okay, I got it. Thank you. Thank you, Moses. Really, it's that one. But first, a little levity. I think you all know I married for love. But the obvious side benefit of having someone around to find my glasses and my cell phone, that can't be ignored. And did you know the secret to a long relationship? Being able to laugh at the same joke 1,000 times. So, as you heard in the reading, thank you, Robert. You know, Ernest talks about relationships. He says there's legitimate love for oneself, and it's not conceit. You're not conceited if you love yourself. So forget that one. And he says, how can we have a relationship with God? He says you have to have some constant communication. So it's okay to talk to God. It's okay. And he said ceaseless prayer. And it's so beautiful, his words. He says, only the individual who rises in secret communion through its own soul to the source of life in gratitude and love has made a place where the divine entrance may be made. You have to open up. You have to open that door. And we owe it to ourselves to love spirit. And he says, repeating you a little bit, you have to get right with yourself before you can love other people. God only sees good. God only sees the good if that's what you're showing. If you're showing not good, if you're not so happy in life, God won't see that. And the second commandment, basically, love each other. So at my time of life, it's really important to have friends. I think as we get older, you know, it's important to rely on our friends to assist us. And I think relationships are our greatest teachers. I am so blessed. I have 2 brothers, a sister, and I've had 3 girlfriends. One of them passed. But I've had someone in my life from the time I was born until now. And friends, I call them friends because I can commune with them. I can share life. And that's a true friend, is someone who could share sort of the ups and downs, the marriages, the divorces, the illnesses, the job losses, you know, complaints, but also the joy. So I am very grateful and blessed to have friends. Deepak Chopra, in his book Meta-Human, called Unleashing Your Infinite Potential, he says, physical world is all about relationships. Around them, we create stories. There's nothing in the world that can be seen without being embedded in relationships, spreading out in all directions. This web of relationships is the invisible net that holds everything together. In 1938, Harvard University Medical School began a study that followed 268 men for 80 years, called the Grant Study. It was a comprehensive investigation focused on what makes a good life. And they looked at health, psychology, marriages, children, choices, resilience, stress, diet, exercise, etc. All of it was sifted through and analyzed. At the end of the day, the principal researcher summed up all the findings. He said, the only thing that really matters in life are your relationships to other people. In Reverend Galen Gerngrich, who's the senior minister of the Unitarian Church, in his book, The Way of Gratitude, he said, our relationships, all of them, have made us who we are. The spiritual practice of openness invites us to respond with gratitude, even when difficult people and difficult relationships come our way. So we have to learn to be grateful, even for those we don't agree with. Especially, we don't agree politically. We have to open the dialogue. We have to be grateful. It's all God. It's all good. You know, relationships to me also include pets and plants. Because it's a symbol, it's all God. And I mentioned before that when my daughter went into high school, I got a dog. Because I wanted somebody to appreciate when I came home. And I see that little face, and that's the face of God. That's divine. I mean, your cat, your dog, you know, even your bird, your fish. I mean, it's all God in an amazing disguise. So, being a dog owner, I can explain the difference in relationships between dogs and cats. Thank you, Rob McGregor. He sent me a picture of a t-shirt that said, dogs have owners. And the other one says, cats have staff. Yeah, if you've ever had both, you know that's true. And another example, you know, a dog thinks to themselves, they say, this human feeds me, she loves me, she cares for me, she must be God. You know, but the cat, what does the cat say? The human feeds me, loves me, and cares for me. I must be God. That's a cat. Some of us also see the face of God in our plants, and many of these were from the yard. And if you want one of these little airplanes, you can have them, as I call them. But you know, I see when I look at the plants, the lilies, the roses, the hydrangeas, my orange tree, my lemon tree, I see the beauty of God in their colors. I see the variety of shapes and fragrance. I mean, it's like, thank you. What a gift. There's also, this week, this last 2 weeks, the universe has been showing me new ways of looking at material stuff. Last year, my sister started sending me stuff she didn't want anymore, and my brother dumped off a bunch of stuff. But I'm at that age where I've got to stop accumulating and let go. I mean, I'll simplify my life. That we have contraction, we have expansion. For me, I'm in the contraction. So what happened this week is I decided I was going to start getting rid of pictures and paintings and statues, and because I've traveled all over the world. And all of a sudden the dishwasher stopped working. I took it apart, I rinsed it, I cleaned it. It said, I've retired. Okay, so no more dishwasher. And then the oven, I have double ovens because I love to cook, you know that. And they stopped working. And instead, in the middle of the night, they started beeping. So Robert was out there with a flashlight, you know, turning off the breaker in the middle of the night. So, you know, I thought, okay, what's the universe trying to tell me here? And by operation of great synchronicity, and we know there's no such thing as synchronicity, there was a fellow called, and he said he represented the company that had helped re-roof our house. And he would come and just check on it. And he would also look under the house. I said, great, come and check. I don't have to buy anything. And he came and he said, the roof was good. And he looked under and there was a stream from the water heater. Under the house was all muddy. So I had to get rid of that water heater. We had 2 water heaters, one in the front of the house, one in the back, and get a new one. And, you know, at first, I guess the old Maurene would have complained, but the new Maurene, the enlightened Maurene, said, wow, okay, what's this for me to do? You know, sometimes the universe kind of nudges you to make some changes. Otherwise, it sends the 2x4. And we did have a 2x4. We had just exited I-5 in La Jolla on Tuesday. A woman in front stopped abruptly. Robert stopped. The car in back did not stop. Boom. And then boom into the front car. You know, still working this one out, but we're fine. We have a beautiful new rental car for the time being, you know. And I thought, okay, you know, if it's all good, it's all God. I looked at that new dishwasher that I just picked out and it has a top tray that does silverware. I mean, it has everything else and it's quiet. It's very quiet. You know, it's amazing. And I looked at all of the double ovens. They have convection and they have built-in air fryer and they have timers and they have Wi-Fi. You can contact them from wherever you are and get them started. It's like, you know, I see the beauty and the creativity in these appliances and in these machines. I mean, I love my home and I like to project a vibration of love from my material things. And these are more energy efficient, they're going to be more comfortable, and we know like attracts like. So my relationship with the material one is love and safety, peace. Now I can invite relatives to stay because I have a bigger water heater too. Won't run out of water. So I'm grateful also that I have the prosperity to pay for these things. And so these relationships with material things, it's just a projection of your own consciousness. So if you look at your stuff and you don't like it, and that's not who you are, and it doesn't add to your magnificent, let it go. Let it go. Let someone else enjoy it. So I always like to talk about science. So just a quick note about quantum physics, quantum mechanics. Quantum entanglement is one seriously long-distance relationship. It's when 2 particles link together in a certain way, and no matter how far apart they're spread in the universe, they act in tandem, act just the same outside of time and space, you can say. And, you know, once they become entangled, they act in unison. You know, and I believe that about people. I believe once we have a relationship with someone, we, hate to use the term entangled, but we have come together in our energy, in our vibration, and once we do that, we will always be connected through that vibration of love. That love is there forever, always. Also, quantum entanglement, you know, introduces the idea of harmony through vibration. I won't go into string theory, but everything is vibrating. And the Tao Te Ching talks about that. The Tao Te Ching that was written, a couple thousand years ago talks about balancing forces leads to harmony. So we have to align our frequency if we want to be a friend. If we want to have a friend, we have to be a friend. We have to rise up to that level. Be loving. So we have to love God first. Ernest, he said, if we will listen to the heartbeat of another person, we will hear the great rhythm of the universe resounding in us. Through our friends, the infinite speaks a divine language. He's beautiful. I don't know how many of you have been watching the Olympic trials? Yeah, it's really amazing. But in honor of the Paralympics, I want to tell a story about a developmentally disabled 12-year-old. And I am so happy that they have the Paralympics. It shows a change of consciousness from where we were 20 years ago. Big change. Anyway, Shay and his father were walking past a park when some boys were playing baseball. And Shay said, "Do you think they'll let me play?" But the father understood that if his son was allowed to play, it would give him needed sense of longing that he didn't think it was going to happen. Shay's father approached one of the boys and asked if Shay could play. The boy looked around for guidance from his teammates. Getting none, he took matters in his own hands and he said, "We're losing by 6 runs. The game is in the 8th inning. I guess he can come on our team and we'll try to put him up to bat in the 9th inning." Shay put on a glove and played in the outfield. Although no hits came his way, he was obviously ecstatic, grinning from ear to ear as his father waved to him from the stands. His team at the bottom of the 8th inning, they had scored a few runs, but they were still behind by 3. Now, with 2 outs and the bases loaded, the potential winning run was on base. Shay was scheduled to be the next at bat. Would the team actually let Shay bat at this juncture? Surprisingly, Shay was given the bat. Everyone knew that a hit was all but impossible. Shay didn't even know how to hold the bat correctly. However, as he stepped up to the plate, the pitcher moved a few steps to lob the ball in softly so Shay could at least be able to make contact. The first pitch came and went. Shay swung clumsily and missed. The pitcher again took a few steps forward to toss the ball softly toward Shay, and as the pitch came in, Shay swung at the ball and hit it, a slow ground ball to the pitcher. And the pitcher could easily have thrown the ball to the first baseman. Shay would have been out. That would have ended the game. Instead, the pitcher took the ball and threw it on a high arc to right field, far beyond reach of the first baseman. Everyone started yelling, "Shay, run to first, run to first." Never in his life had he ever made it to first base, and he scampered down the baseline, wide-eyed and startled, and everyone yelled, "Run to second, run to second." By the time he was rounding first base, the right fielder had the ball. He could have thrown the ball to the second baseman for a tag, but the right fielder understood what the pitcher's intentions had been, so he threw the ball high and far over the third baseman's head. Shay ran towards second base as the runners ahead of him deliriously circled the bases toward home. As Shay reached second base, the opposing shortstop ran to him, turned to him, and said, "Run to third." And as Shay rounded third, the boys from the teams were screaming, "Shay, run home! Shay!" Shay ran home. He stepped on the home plate and was cheered as a hero for hitting a grand slam. How do you think everybody felt?
Yeah, amazing.
Love. That's love in action. I just love that. Jerry Seinfeld, we all knew Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian. He said, we will all no doubt have some stressful moments even with our closest friends. Now, we can't have Shay and love all the time. But he said, we're all unique. We can all be so judgmental, so critical. We all become experts, like when we watch the Olympics. I have no idea how it's humanly possible for a 14-year-old girl to run down a ramp, flip off a wooden horse, and then do 4.5 flips.
Wow.
But if she does a little hop, we say, get her out of here.
No.
Or those guys who jump off a 5-story ramp into the water, they do 3 somersaults, 7 twists, then they hit the water. And what do we look for? A little splash. Oh, there's a splash. Get the bum out of here. I know if it was me making that jump, if I had survived, I'd come out of the water yelling, I'm okay. Yeah, we are so judgmental. A quote from Marcus Aurelius, who's one of my favorite writers, and he was a Roman emperor who ruled from 161 to 180. He said, whenever you're about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following questions. What fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I'm about to criticize? We live in perfection. At least we try. Also, Jack Cornfield, I don't know if you know Jack, he is a writer and a teacher, Vipassana Buddhist, and he said, imagine for a moment you've passed on. You've been exported to a holding station, waiting to be interviewed by God to determine where your next stop will be. You're sitting there, God comes in, hands you a piece of paper with one question on it. Based on your response, your future is determined. What do you think the one question is? How much is your net worth? Did you win most of the arguments? Were you right most of the time? I think the question would be, how well did you love? How completely did you forgive yourself and others? How many people's lives did you touch for the better? Did you bring happiness to someone's heart? So, practice. Ernest says that. He says practice. Practice prayer. Practice talking to God. Practice going into the silence, but practice being that conduit. You know, practice a greater love in your life. And, you know, many are called and few are chosen. We have to keep opening ourselves to be that greater conduit. And he says, practice seeing others as divine until you have gazed in your mirror and seen yourself as divine. No criticism, no fault. Then may God behold you. Thank you.